Imagine two people receiving the exact same paycheck on the exact same day. Both worked the same number of hours, both deposited the same amount into their bank accounts. Yet if we fast forward 5 years, one person has built a strong financial foundation, while the other constantly feels like money disappears as quickly as it arrives. The interesting part is that the difference often has very little to do with income. Instead, it comes down to what happens during the first few hours after getting paid. Most people think financial success is determined by large decisions such as investment choices, salary negotiations, or major purchases. While those decisions certainly matter, behavioral economists have repeatedly found that everyday systems often have a greater long-term influence than occasional big moves. In other words, financial outcomes are frequently shaped by routines rather than intentions. This is why the paycheck routine matters so much. The moment a paycheck arrives, every dollar is effectively waiting for instructions. If those instructions are not given deliberately, other forces quickly take over. Bills arrive, advertisements appear, subscriptions renew, impulse purchases seem reasonable, and before long, the paycheck has been assigned without much conscious planning. This is not because people lack discipline. It is because human beings naturally react to immediate demands before long-term goals. One of the most useful concepts in behavioral economics is called mental accounting. People mentally separate money into categories even when all dollars are technically identical. A tax refund feels different from a paycheck. A bonus feels different from salary. Cash feels different from a debit card balance. Understanding this tendency allows us to create systems that work with human psychology instead of fighting against it. The first step in an effective paycheck routine is creating separation before spending begins. The reason is simple. Money that remains in a general spending account competes with every possible purchase. Money that is moved into dedicated categories begins serving specific purposes. This small distinction dramatically changes behavior over time. Imagine receiving a paycheck and immediately directing part of it toward future obligations. Rent, utilities, insurance, transportation, groceries, and other necessities receive their allocations first. At this stage, nothing exciting has happened. There are no investment gains, no financial breakthroughs, and no dramatic transformations. Yet something important has occurred. Future obligations have been acknowledged before present desires. This process reduces decision fatigue. Instead of repeatedly wondering whether enough money remains for upcoming bills, the answer is already built into the system. Psychological research consistently shows that reducing uncertainty improves decision quality because mental energy is no longer consumed by constant calculations. The second step involves paying your future self before expanding your lifestyle. This phrase is often repeated in personal finance discussions, but its importance comes from timing rather than amount. Many people attempt to save whatever remains after spending. The challenge is that spending naturally expands to absorb available resources. Economists sometimes refer to this as lifestyle inflation, where increases in income are gradually matched by increases in consumption. A paycheck routine reverses this process. Instead of asking what is left after spending, it asks what should be reserved before spending. Even modest contributions to savings create a powerful psychological signal. They communicate that future stability has equal importance to present consumption. The mathematics behind this idea are surprisingly simple. Consider two individuals who each earn the same income. One saves first and spends what remains. The other spends first and saves what remains. Over time, the first person is more likely to accumulate reserves because saving becomes part of the system rather than the outcome of willpower. The third step is maintaining an emergency fund priority until a meaningful financial buffer exists. Emergency funds are often misunderstood because they appear inactive. Unlike investments, they do not generate exciting returns. Unlike purchases, they do not create visible improvements. Yet their purpose is entirely different. Their job is not growth. Their job is protection. Protection has significant economic value because it prevents temporary setbacks from becoming long-term problems. Without reserves, unexpected expenses often lead to debt. Debt transfers today's problem into the future while adding interest costs. An emergency fund interrupts that cycle by providing an alternative source of stability. Historically, every successful economic system has relied on reserves. Ancient civilizations stored grain. Merchants maintained inventories. Governments accumulated strategic resources. The principle has remained remarkably consistent across centuries. Stability is rarely created by perfect predictions. It is created by preparation for uncertainty. The fourth step is assigning a purpose to every remaining dollar. This does not mean restricting every purchase or eliminating enjoyment. It simply means intentionality replaces randomness. Some dollars may support entertainment. Others may support travel, education, investing, charitable giving, or personal goals. The specific categories matter less than the presence of a plan. A common misconception is that financial freedom comes from having more choices. In reality, financial freedom often comes from making fewer unnecessary decisions. Systems reduce friction, habits reduce complexity, structure reduces stress. As these routines repeat over months and years, something subtle begins to happen. The relationship with money changes. Paychecks stop feeling like temporary relief and start functioning as tools. Financial decisions become less reactive and more strategic. Unexpected expenses remain inconvenient, but they become less likely to trigger panic. This identity shift may be the most important part of the entire process. People who consistently follow a paycheck routine often stop viewing themselves as individuals trying to manage money and start viewing themselves as individuals who have a money system. That distinction matters because systems continue functioning even when motivation fluctuates. The goal of a paycheck routine is not perfection. There will always be unexpected circumstances, changing priorities, and occasional mistakes. The goal is simply to ensure that every paycheck moves through a deliberate process before outside influences decide where it goes. When viewed over a single week, this routine may appear ordinary. When viewed over a decade, it becomes easier to see its significance. Financial progress is often less about dramatic actions and more about repeated decisions made consistently over time. The paycheck itself is important, but the routine that follows may be even more important because it determines whether money quietly disappears or gradually builds a stronger financial future. My name is Edwin, and welcome to the Wealth Shift. Shift your money, shift your future.